How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Manatee Gaming. It is double XP, so I've got a video today that will help you to make a lot of extra money during double XP. You might even be able to pay off some of the double XP money that you spent. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. So today's guide is going to be a pretty simple to follow along one with. What I'm going to do is show you some things that you can buy during double XP that have very little to no risk involved. And there's actually a couple different things you can do with these items. You can either resell them for some profit, or if you want to, you can throw them into a high alch machine, alch them yourself, whatever you feel like doing. Let's go ahead and start with the alchemy stuff because that's going to be the easiest one to explain to. So as you see, I've got some different items here that can all be bought during double XP, and every single one of these items also are things that people are crafting during double XP for the XP. So that means that during double XP, they get really, really cheap. As you can see right now, the water battle staff is all the way down to 63.58. It is during double XP right now, so if I was to put this for instant sell, it'd probably go for even less than that. So you can always try to buy these things for less than the market value. That's a really good idea to do. I'm gonna go ahead and toss in a couple more things. These black dragon hide things are things that people with pretty high crafting levels, but not quite the royal dragon hide level, or maybe they just don't have enough money for doing the royal stuff, they will stick to the black dragon hide things. So these are in here also. And then obviously the royal, as we just mentioned, this is for the people that want those really fast XP rates and also have the high enough level in order to do this, as well as enough money to be able to stock up the royal dragon hides to do this. So those kind of all go in the same category. Then we have some fletching items here. These magic shield bow people will actually buy these during double XP also in order to make them into the magic shield bows. But both of them, as you're going to see in just a moment, are below the alch value, which is going to be key to our strategy here. The next thing is going to be Dragonstone Bracelet. Dragonstone Bracelet are pretty commonly crafted. Not as commonly crafted as they used to be, but they're still pretty commonly crafted. And you can snatch these up for really good deals during double XP for much less than the market value once again. All of these things, in fact, can be bought for less than market value, sometimes way below market value, and that's a really awesome thing to try to find. Next thing here is the Dragonstones. So Dragonstones are good to buy during double XP, and I'll show you why in just a second. But one of the big reasons too is because they are used to make things like Dragonstone bracelets. So even though this itself could go down more, it's kind of linked to the Dragonstone bracelet, and unlike in the past when these were still like 10 or 11,000 each, you couldn't really go by the alch value in order to make these safe, but now you can. So let me go ahead and show you the next trick here. So the reason why these items are so good is because they all have an alch floor to them. So if you have them into your price checker here and then you click on this to turn it into the high alchemy prices, you'll see that every single one of these has a higher high alch price. Even these Dragonstones. A long time ago, it was pretty much unheard of for you to high alch a Dragonstone. It was just going to be a loss because 6,000 was way less than they used to be worth. I remember times when Dragonstones were 15,000 each. But now, if you look, the difference between the actual GE price right now, the market price, which once again, these can be bought for less than market price, 38.28, clicking on this high alch, 6,000. It's a huge difference. 11,475 high alch from 93.99. Then we have this right here at 1094, going to 1536. You get the idea. Some of them are pretty dramatic too, like this water battle staff at 63.58, but the high alch is 9,300. It's pretty crazy. Even if you take into account the cost of the runes to do this, like if we have our nature rune plus a fire staff, the nature rune itself is only 717, and as you can see, most of these are going to be much higher than 717 as a difference. The only one that's going to be the exception to that is probably going to be this magic shield bow and that's only at 768, but it still has a pretty big difference. But I'm going to explain a little bit further into why we're not totally going to be paying attention to the nature rune prices, although they are something to keep in mind. So What we're going to want to do in order to make a lot of money here is we're going to want to basically buy these up while they're really cheap during double XP, and then they're pretty much guaranteed to rise back up. So as I mentioned, a lot of these things, except for like the Dragonstone, are crafted during double XP in order for players to get XP, which means that during double XP, there is the highest volume of all these things and many more things that you could, that like at any point of the game otherwise. So normally there wouldn't be anywhere near as many black dragon hide shields in the game, but because there's so many people crafting them right now there is a ton of them in the game, which means these prices also drop as well. When it goes back to being less of them in the game, so let's go back to real prices, right? 86.20. You can look at the Grand Exchange wiki graphs. So if you go to the RuneScape 3 wiki and then you type in the Black Dragon Hide Shield, you're going to see that the price for these is going to be like on a average time that's not during double XP. You can see the 30-day average or the spikes on it, where it's going to be much higher than what you're able to pay right now. Now, it might not be, not everything might be much higher. Like for example, if I was to look at these Dragonstone bracelets, maybe $93.99 right now, and then maybe 10,000 outside of double XP. So not a massive difference on some of them. But if you were to buy a lot of these, like let's say you bought like, I don't know, if you had the money for it and you bought like 1 million Black Dragon Hide shields, right? And let's say you bought them for like 8,200 because that's the price you were able to buy, because for the 5th time or so, a lot of these things will be less right now than what this market price shows. So let's say, for example, you bought 1 million of these. So at 8,200 each, that is 8.2 billion. Now remember, like I said, if you have the money to do that, right? So that's 8.2 billion. If they went to 9,000 each, that is an 800 million profit by just using this simple trick right here. But you do not have to have anywhere near that much money. You can also buy things that are cheaper, like you can buy these magic shield bows. Let's say that you were able to buy them during double XP for like 450 or 400, and then let's say you were going to make like 200 each. If you bought 1 million of those, then whatever amount of profit you're going to make each, you just take that times 1 million. So that means you make 200 million profit. Now, those are just really big numbers. You know, obviously everyone watching this video is not going to have enough money to buy millions of all these things, but whatever amount that you are able to buy, you will make a significant profit doing that. If anything was to go wrong, and this is the reason why these items are so good and the reason why I wanted to make this video for you, is that if anything goes wrong, like let's say you bought these Royal Dragonhide bodies and you actually paid $94.40, and then for some reason, they just really weren't going back up. You're sitting there waiting for like a month and a half and you're like, man, for some reason, something in the game changed and these aren't going back up to where they should be. Then that's why we have the High Alchemy floor as a safety net. So our High Alch on this is 11,520. Let's say with everything considered, right? Let's say I'm going to use my High Alchemy machine, and let's say it costs 1,000 per alch, because it's going to cost more than like a regular nature rune alching them, but you don't have to do it yourself, which makes it really great, right? We don't want to stand there high alching everything. That's not really our goal. We want to be using those machines because we don't want to be taking up time. If we are trying to use time to get our money back, then that's pretty much a money-making method, and we can find much better money-making methods than that. So if I look at the difference here, it's roughly 2,000, so it's actually a little bit more than 2,000 of a difference. If it costs you 1,000 to alch these each in your High Alchemy machines, then that means you're still leaving yourself with over 1,000 profit on each one. So if our investment, our flip, whatever you want to call it, doesn't work out for some reason, or maybe we just don't want to wait for it, we can just throw them into our High Alchemy machine and we have nothing to lose. But the thing we have to gain though is if these 9440 bodies go to 10,000, boom, we just made a big profit by selling those off. The next thing I want to talk about, and obviously you can see it in my inventory here, is I want to talk about why we actually have these nature runes over here and the fire runes. It's not just to show you the difference here. It's also because if we are planning on using that safety net, like let's say that you are planning on buying so many different items and you actually want your High Alchemy machines going, which is a great idea. Right now is a wonderful time to be able to stock up specifically for our High Alchemy machines. So if we want to do that, then we need to take into consideration the cost of our runes, because if we're going to be high alching them ourselves, or we're going to be throwing them into our machines or whatever, we need to be looking at these, and we also need to be looking at those charges and seeing how much it's all going to cost. Chances are a lot of it's going to be less right now, because normally after double XP, the price of the runes will rise because of exactly what I'm telling you right now. Many players have figured out that there's lots of stuff to high alch after double XP, and they want to make their money back, which means that is why these nature runes and stuff, they usually start rising after double XP. So if you want to be able to build up that safety net and be able to have your runes for high alchemy, then it's a really good idea to go ahead and grab them during double XP, or even before double XP, in order so that way you have them for after double XP. You don't want to be sitting there like in 2 weeks from now or a week from now and being like, okay, time to use my high alchemy machine, and then realize that nature runes went to 1,000. Because right now, 717, that is a really high price for a nature rune. I remember when nature runes were like way less than this, like less than half of this. So we can obviously see that people are willing to pay this amount of money because of how big the differences are in the prices. If you look at this this Dragonstone, 3828, the difference is up to 6,000. That is a huge difference. So that's why people are more than willing to pay extra on their nature runes now than what they were in the past, because there's such a big difference. In the past, these items would not have quite as big of a difference and profit margin in high alchemy than they do now, which is another reason why nature runes have gone up. There's also a lot less people doing nature runs and stuff like that. There was definitely in the past people would actually literally do nature rune running in order to raise up their rune crafting, because it was pretty good money and not too bad of XP. But nowadays, not really many people want to do that. So due to that, and also due to the fact that there's bigger margins and some other changes in the game too, including like what types of enemies players are actually going and killing, because that will tell you what their drops are. If previously a lot of players were slaying monsters that were going to give you nature runes, and then nowadays not so much, all these different factors are what create the price of the nature rune now. So with that in mind, we could definitely see nature runes going higher than 717. So like I said, it's a good time to stock them up while they're cheap. Okay, and to our next part of the video. So now this one's a little bit different, although we're using the exact same type of concept here of having a safety net. So the Amlod shop, you can use this guy or you can use Bogrog. If you have the Prif hard tasks done, then this guy is actually going to give you more than Bogrog as far as shard return. So we're going to be using the shard return as our method of a safety net when it comes to summoning pouches and summoning scrolls. And I also have one more trick for you for summoning scrolls too, so I'll go ahead and include that. But if we look right here and we click on swap with Lord Amlod, then we will be able to see how much he will pay on each one of every single pouch in the game and every single scroll in the game. Now you gotta do a slight bit amount of math here. And if you don't want to do the math, that's also fine. You can just go on the Runescape wiki and open up these summoning pouches, and it'll tell you exactly how much he gives you for each one. And it'll tell you how much Bogrog gives you for each one. But in order for this method to really work well, you need to have those Prif hard tasks done. But it's not too much to worry though, because even if you are not able to swap for the extra shards, like if you do not have the Prif done, it's actually fine, because the prices of these items tend to not go too much below the shard price anyway, because other players can just go do that. So that just kind of keeps it up. So if we look right here at our pouches, so remember that these Pack Yak pouches are 40.64 in the Grand Exchange right now, and you can buy these for much less during double XP, like around like 3,800, 3,900, 4,000. All of them are going to be profitable, because Pack Yaks will pretty much always jump back up because of the shard amount. Oh my goodness. Too much talking. So, Pack Yak pouch, if we look right here, it gives you 162 shards back with some quick math of 25 gold per shard, brings you to 4,050 that you'll be able to get back if you were to sell this Pack Yak pouch to him. So if I go ahead and click this, and then I go ahead and swap one, then boom, I now have these 162 shards, which is worth 4,050. If I go over here, it's probably going to show me the Grand Exchange price. Nope, it didn't. 25. So 4,050. So if I was to buy these for anything, ooh, let me get this free pouch real quick, and we'll be able to check out that one too. So if I was to buy a ton of these Pack Yak pouches, and I was like trying to make some money on them, then it's the exact same concept as having those alchemy floors, because at any point in time I can just go ahead and sell them to this guy right here if anything was to go wrong. Now, I'm not able to do the high alchemy trick, which is pretty much guaranteeing me profit in the alchemy machine, but I can always do this. And you can still make some profit too. Like, let's say, for example, you bought pack yak pouches for 4,000 and you're like, man, I just cannot sell them for more than 4,000, which I don't think would ever happen. But if it did, you could come in here and make 50 gold profit each, no taxes, pretty great. So 152 on this Fire Titan pouch. Let's see how much that would be equal to. It'd be equal to 3,800 by selling the Fire Titan pouch to this guy right here, Amlod. And so if I examine this, it comes up to 3,608, which once again is a profit. So you can buy tons of pouches and tons of scrolls during double XP, because he also buys these scrolls for a profitable amount. If I was to look at this Geyser Titan Boil, 13 shards given to me is 325 coins. And if I looked at the price right now, it's only 269. So it's pretty great, right? So there is a lot of money to be made here without any risk at all, because shards can also be literally trading Lord Amlod. You can just go into trading Lord Amlod, click to sell, and then look at that, you're guaranteed 25. So if I was to go boom, done, sold, right back there to 25. If you were a newer player or someone who has never reached the max cash cap before there was a max cash cap, or maybe you're just a player who wants to keep their gold in their bank and not have it in their money pouch. It was very common for people to come here and to trade, trade with Lord Amlod or the other people or whatever, and then buy a massive stack of these shard packs, and then we would just store money that way. You could store basically something just over 52 billion is how much you could put into a maximum shard stack into your bank. So they have never changed. They're probably never going to change. So feel free to use this method of trying to make some money. What you want to do is you want to try to buy pouches and buy scrolls for less than or equal to the amount that you'll be getting back from Amlod. You can also try buying some for more if you want to. Like, for example, these Steel Titan pouches usually commonly will go quite a bit above these swap amounts. So just check the RuneScape Wiki 3 graphs as well, and then you can get an idea of where they should go to. So there is one more thing I want to tell you too, and that is about the Steel Titan pouch type of thing. So if I was to take a Steel Titan pouch, for example, and it's no longer Amlod, it was literally just Amlod hour. Oh man, that would have been good for this video. So if you are during Amlod hour, you can bring pouches here. They have to be unnoded, unfortunately, so that means you do have to run here. There is a very quick method though of literally just like teleporting in with your attuned crystal teleport seed or many other ways, and then you'll be able to get here and then run over to the obelisk. If you click on the obelisk while you have some pouches in your inventory, then I can turn my pouch into 10 of these scrolls. If it is during Amlod hour, and that is pretty much the only time you should do this, then it will actually be able to give you 12 scrolls, which is even better. If I look at the price right now of the Steel Titan pouch, it is 38.21. If I click on the infused pouch here, and I'm going to go ahead and create 10, it gives me a small amount of XP, but nothing really to talk about. 3,800 is how much the pouch costs, and then these are going for 564. So if I was to do the 564 times 12 during Amlod hour, that is 6768 minus the 3,800 roughly. And that means I'm making just about 3,000 profit by swapping out my summoning pouch for the summoning scrolls during Amlod hour. But as you can tell though, with this margin, you could also do it outside of Amlod hour and still make good money. Like, you'll still be making almost 2,000 each, which is still really good. And if you do this the really fast method, you can do quite a bit of these runs per hour. I think it's like 55. No, it's probably more than 55. I have to see. I actually have a video on my channel that actually tells you a really fast way of doing it. But anyway, there is a lot of different ways that you can get rid of the things you invested in. So in general, this video is not really to tell you to high alch things and to swap things and all this other stuff. What you want to do though is find these things that are underpriced during double XP, invest into them, and then wait till after double XP to sell them off. Now, it varies. Oh my goodness, free pouches, free pouches. So it varies because if you, on certain items will take a little bit longer for them to rise back to what they should be. And you can get a pretty good idea of what they're going to rise back to by just looking at the 30-day averages before double XP or after double XP or whatever. But it generally will take 2 to 3 weeks for most items to return back to a good sell price. So just keep that in mind. There may still be some really good deals to snag right after double XP too, like during that week after, because the day after and the day of the end of it is generally a lot of people dumping off stuff. But there's also a lot of people that finish their double XP stuff on, like, you know, the Sunday or the Monday. Those are the people that like hardcore grinded it out. And so there's lots of good deals on Sunday and Monday as well. Saturday and everything. I mean, honestly, throughout the entire double XP, just keep an eye out for really good deals and then snag them, and then use the strategies I showed in this video to see, hey, I don't really have any chance of losing money on these dragon stones because I can just throw them in my high alchemy machine. Thank you, Manatee Gaming. But anyway, I really hope this helps you guys out. This is also really great practice for anybody who is interested in doing like slightly more risky long-term investing or short-term investing, because this will give you a really good idea of how to read those graphs, how to make the educated purchases, and how to know when to sell and everything else without having the risk of losing any money. Anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this. If you want to see more type of strategies like this, please join our Patreon, our Discord server. But if you also would like to become a billionaire this month and be able to support the channel with a whole bunch of prizes literally handed to you every single day, then consider becoming a Patreon supporter. And I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.